my sewing friends. This is Friday Sews. I'm Jen, and this is my sewing room, and I would like to welcome you to the hashtag Get to Know Friday Sews edition of Friday Sews. Some of the other Friday Sewers and I were talking, and someone raised the question of maybe doing a Friday Sews where we talk about ourselves and kind of introduce ourselves. I thought this was a fantastic idea. So, of course, the wheels started turning in my head, and I put together a list of 10 questions that we could all answer on the same Friday. So, you'll get to know all of the Friday Sewers. So, I'll just jump right in. The first question is, what is your name? My name is Jen, today in Jen's Sewing Room. And a little bit of a background about my name. My full name is Jenifer, and it's spelled with one N. And that's because my mother and dad got into a discussion when I was born. And my dad insisted that Jenifer was spelled with one N. My mother insisted that it was correctly spelled with two. And of course, she was right. But she gave in because she didn't care, because she was going to call me Jenny pretty much my whole life. And so to my family and friends, at least up until I was 40, called me Jenny. I've always been Jenny. But once I got to be 40, something happened with my husband's boss. It was kind of funny. He called me on the carpet. He goes, "Which is it?" And so I kind of started being called Jen, and so I've been that ever since. But please don't ever call me Jenifer, because my mother only called me that when she was angry with me, which wasn't that often. But seems like when people have called me Jenifer, bad things happen. So very bad idea. Just call me Jen. Question 2, where are you from? Well, for the past almost 3 years, I've lived in Florida, which is at the bottom right-hand side of the U.S. as you look at the U.S. It's the big, long peninsula, and I live in kind of the middle of it when you go top to bottom. I grew up in Ohio, which, if you know the U.S., of course you probably know where that is. If you didn't grow up in the U.S. and you're thinking, I have no idea where that is, it is, as you look at the U.S. and you've got the Atlantic on one side and the Pacific on the other, it's kind of a third of the way in from the Atlantic as you head west, and about, well, no, it's actually on the border of the Great Lakes. So it's shaped like a shield. So I grew up there in the middle of the state. I've lived in Indiana, which is next to Ohio, for a lot of my life. A little bit of my life I lived in California, a little bit in North Carolina. My kids all went to high school in North Carolina and also college. And we just decided to move to Florida about 3 years ago, so here we are. That's where I'm from, kind of. Question 3, how long have you been sewing? Well, let me put it this way. I am 61 years old, and I started sewing when I was 9. And I've been doing it pretty much continuously ever since. I don't think that there was ever a long, like 5, 10, 20-year stretch of time when I didn't sew. I pretty much have always been sewing something. Question 4, what are your machines? Well, I have, I'll tell you the newest to the oldest. A couple of years ago, I got a Singer Quantum Stylist, which is a relatively new machine on the market. And I got it because I wanted the thread cutter, and I found quickly that it sounded like it was hammering those stitches in compared to my other machines. And I thought, I don't like that. And there are a lot of things you can't adjust on it. It's a good machine. But for me, I'd been sewing on a different brand for a long time, pretty much since I had my own sewing machine. So I have that. It's sitting on the floor over there. I don't know if I'm going to pass it on to one of my kids or sell it on eBay, or I'm not sure, but I don't use it. I just got a FAF 2140, which I absolutely love. The story with that is that I got one from Facebook Marketplace, but it didn't work, and they don't make the parts anymore. So I found a part on eBay, but it was the wrong part. Couldn't get it fixed, and I was very disappointed because it had a walking foot and the thread cutter, which are really the only two things I cared about. It also does embroidery, and it does a larger embroidery. It has a bigger hoop, that it can do it in than I had previous in the past. Oh, by the way, the Singer can't do embroidery. So I ended up going on eBay, still looking for parts, and I came across another 2140. And I thought, wow. And it said bare bones. Well, I didn't care. It didn't come with the embroidery unit. It didn't come with any of the accessories. The only thing it came with were the power cords and the foot pedal. Well, I didn't care. I already had all that with the one that didn't work. So I talked to Eric, and he said, well, now you have one for parts, which is fantastic. Right now, it's with Eric to be kind of tuned up. And a couple of things, they work, but they don't work like they're supposed to. Like my presser foot won't always stay up. My thread cutter won't always let go. I have to turn the wheel a little bit. These are minor things, but I love that machine. Then I also have a FAF 7570. I got it, oh gosh, used, but back in the 90s. And it was the new big thing. I didn't pay a ton of money for it, but I love that machine. I will never get rid of that machine. I think those machines are really well made. If you get one that was made in Germany, and that one was, and so was the 2140. They're kind of heavy because they're metal. They are electronic, and I love this one, but it doesn't have the thread cutter. It does have a built-in walking foot, which I think is fantastic. I've sewn with that for so long that I don't know how to not sew with it. So when I got the Singer, it was like, why isn't this feeding the fabric through like I'm used to? It's not that it doesn't, it's just that it does it better on the FAF. So I have the 7570. It does embroidery, but it's a smaller area that it will embroider because it was one of the first embroidery machines that came out. So great machine, highly recommend. If you can get one used, do, because they're really good. Then I have a Singer 99. It's over there. And I got that for my daughter, thinking basic machine, doesn't do anything but go forward and backward. It won't zigzag, which it was probably a mistake. But it's a beautiful machine, and I don't use it, which is not a good thing. You should use your machines. It's kind of like a car. You don't want to leave it sitting in your garage. You want to use it so that the parts kind of get going and you keep it oiled and in shape and all that. But it's a manual machine. It's from, I think, around the 1950s. And then I have a featherweight, which is up there, that my in-laws got for me. They were just buying sewing machines for me and my sister-in-law, and so they happened on that, and it was like, oh, that's a good machine. They had no idea it was worth what it's worth. But again, straight stitch, forward and back. Quilters love those because although they're metal, they only weigh about 10 pounds. They're very easy to transport. They're very basic machines, but fantastic for quilting. I also have a Brother 1034D, which is also it's with Eric, big blank space here, because I couldn't get the timing right. I took it all apart, and it's had this problem before, and I gave up. I thought, okay, this is one of those things where you just have to work with it until you get everything exactly right, and that's hard, because it's the kind of thing where you get one thing right, and then you get the next thing based on that, but then you realize, oh, that's going to have to come a little more that way, and that's going to affect this, and professionals need to do that kind of stuff. Although I wouldn't say all the time, but I would say, yeah, a lot of the time they do. I also have this little Singer. It's a 14U12. It was the very first Singer overlock I ever owned, overlocker. And it is a fantastic machine. Very basic, 3 threads, won't do anything but that. It does do a rolled hem. And I noticed that I changed the color of the thread on it, and I ran into some problems. And I think that the tension discs need to be adjusted. So I'll probably take that to Eric too. It needs a little TLC. And I was gonna use it while the Brother was in the shop. To be honest, I'd like to get the equivalent of a Jaguar, which for a serger, it's really nice because it's not the air threader. Yeah, I'd love one of those, but I don't want to spend that kind of money. But they open up all the way in the front so you can thread them. Makes threading really easy. So I'd love to have one of those, but they don't make them in the US. So I'm going to have to find the US equivalent of that. So if you know what that is, let me know. Okay, so that's all the machines. Question 5, self-taught or formal classes? Well, I have kind of a hybrid answer to that because I was taught by my mom, who was taught by my grandmother. And I was taught back in the days when they taught you all of the traditional methods and techniques. And so I learned those. And as I got further along in my sewing, I learned to take shortcuts and, do things in a faster way, learned from various sources. I used to watch Sewing with Nancy on PBS every day. Man, I was so faithful with that. And, I learned a lot of quick techniques from her. Kind of as technology has gotten better, it's easier to do things. So I'm not really self-taught completely. I'm mostly self-taught, and I never took formal classes. Well, I may have one or two here or there. I can't remember. It's been a long time. So yeah, kind of, I would have to go back to my mom. My mom taught me. Yeah. Question 6, knits or wovens? Wovens. In particular, viscose rayon. I recently learned, always learning, that rayon is the brand name for viscose, and it's kind of like Kleenex is the brand name for tissues. It's like I'm trying to change the way I refer to that. So yeah, that's one of my favorites, and my top favorite of all time would be calico cotton, 100% cotton or cotton polyester woven. Love that fabric. It does everything you ask it. It will behave itself completely. You don't have to worry about it stretching out of shape or not doing what you want. There are, very simple ways to get it to go around a curve or things like that. So that's my favorite. Question 7, Big Four or indie patterns? Big Four. Oh yeah, that's what I learned with. It's what I understand. I hardly look at directions anymore anyway. They're more like a friendly suggestion or something to refer to if I get lost. Although I will say that recently I have been paying a lot more attention to the construction method, and there are times that I look at the way they want to do it and I think there is a way better way to do that, and I do it my own way. Sometimes I do that and it's a complete disaster. So yeah. But Big Four, I really like Big Four patterns. I think there's a lot more variety of style. I think that the trends are much more current with the Big Four patterns. I've seen a focus with each one of the companies toward a basic certain demographic. And Lindsay at Inside the Hem recently did a video on that, and I will put that here. So Big Four. Yeah, there are all kinds of reasons, but those are the basic ones. Question 8, online shopping or in-store? Yeah, I know I'm going to sound really old-fashioned with this, but in-store. I like to be able to feel the fabric, to read all the stuff on the end of the bolt, what it's made of, how many yards are on a bolt, washing instructions, things like that. I really like that. And most of all, it's the feel of it, Now, it's not that I haven't ordered things online, because I have, but that's not my go-to. I'd much rather get it from a real-life brick and mortar store, shop. Yeah. Question 9, your favorite sewing task? Well, I think for the most part it would be pressing. I love that instant gratification. You go take something to the ironing board or the surface and you press it and it's like, whoa, it's doing exactly what I want. I've recently learned to use my clapper very effectively, and I like that. My second favorite would probably be top stitching. I love the accuracy that you can get. I'm not a perfectionist. I'm very much of a big picture person, not really a detail person, but I love when I can get a perfect line of top stitching. That's a beautiful thing. Question 10, my best advice to other sewers. If you are a beginner sewer, I would advise you to get a Big Four pattern and get the pattern instruction sheet out and read the entire thing, every word, and highlight the things that you don't understand. And then either go to someone on YouTube, go to a class, or go to someone who sews that might be able to explain that to you. I think that if you do that, you're going to learn so many traditional techniques that are going to put you at a level kind of, like you'll have an edge going into sewing, thinking beyond, oh, anybody can do this. Yeah, it's an acquired skill. The more you do of it, the better you get. But if you educate yourself before you go in, you're going to have a lot more success than if you don't. I would say, yeah, that, and get good tools. Don't get all the tools, but watch videos. Clear It. Penguin and Pear has a great video on essential tools, and especially tools that she got that she's like, why did I buy this? And there are other tools that she bought that she thought, I absolutely am so glad I bought this. So I will link that up here. And the bonus question, how did you find out about Friday Sews? I actually have a video about that, and I will put that right here. And that's it for now from me, and I will see you next time. Thanks for watching.